Greetings in the name of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. I am the Oklahoma Tomcat coming to you from Montana. I haven't been doing blogs very much lately, and I'm very sorry about that. A lot of things have been going on, and just really haven't been in the mood doing it. But I plan on changing that. And today I have a few questions. This mainly goes out to flatbed drivers. First question is, straps on the inside or outside the rub rail? Which way should we be doing it? What does the law say about it? Another one is kind of similar to that, and should you ever have anything secured to the rub rail? To any of your securement devices. I'm not talking about bungees, but securement devices beyond the rub rail. And the other question is, straps over the tarp or under the tarp? I'll be addressing these questions, but first I want to talk to you, owner-operators and those that are lease operators, about leasing onto a company. Now, the company I'm leased onto is CRST, and there's several reasons why I chose to lease onto CRST. I had my own truck prior to CRST. Actually, I was buying one, and I was with another company, and I've done lease operating with several companies that paid in different ways. I was doing pretty good with one company, a small company that paid 90% of the freight. The only problem is when my truck was having trouble and finally went out on me to a point where it couldn't be fixed anymore. That gets to be quite expensive. And the company I was leased onto paid 90% of the freight. I'm sorry, I'm having trouble with that thing. And the company paid 90% of freight, which was great. However, they didn't support you in any maintenance issues, and maintenance could be quite expensive, along with a lot of other things you got paid for. Well, that truck went on me, so I decided to go with CRST. Now, CRST, I was with them on and off for 20 years as a company driver. And I was kind of familiar with their leasing program. And I decided to take my company that I've started and lease it on to them. And let me tell you something, it was a good move. The reason I chose CRST is because, number one, they pay percentage. If you're leased onto a company that pays per mile, that's not very good. Especially if you sit for a long time or anything like that. Let me tell you something. If you're sitting for a long time at a customer, believe me, the company you're leased onto is still making a lot of money on that freight. But you're only getting paid while you roll. And I don't care what they say about detention pay. That detention pay is not paying you how much you could be making if you got percentage, or even if those wheels are rolling. The other reason I chose CRST is because I like booking my own loads. I'm not dependent on a dispatcher. In fact, I don't even have a dispatcher. If I do good or bad, it's all on me because I'm the one booking the load. Okay? So I control how much money I make. And I'm able to look at the load board, several load boards in fact, and determine which loads I'm going to take, and take the one that's paying the best. Because you want to know something? Let me show you something what I got inside my truck. Let me tell you something about some of these loads. I don't know if you can see that. say no to cheap freight. I don't take cheap freight. Okay. When you have a dispatcher, you're dependent on that dispatcher to keep you rolling and to get the best freight for you. Even if you're getting paid percentage, you're depending on that dispatcher. So I wanted to go with a company that has no dispatcher and where I could choose the load boards. The other thing is I don't have to choose off their load board. I can also pick freight that's off of an outside load board. Now CRST has something quite unique. They have several companies that are contracted with them, and therefore you can choose from these, they're called agents, and you can look at all their loads and pick a load from them, or you can go to that or 123 Freight or any one of those other load boards and choose freight from there. If you're interested, then I have a link in the description of this video that you can look that you can click on. Just click on the link, fill it out, the information, just a little short thing asking for your name and phone number and all that stuff, and someone will give you a call. All right. And when you choose, it'll ask you what job. When you choose job, if you want the lease operating, or if you own your own truck and you want the owner operator, go through that list and click on Malone. That's Malone, M-A-L-O-N. Yeah, I think it's dead. And somebody will give you a call. Now, CRST does have several other options and stuff. They got the dry van and all that. But what I described to you is the flatbed side. Dry van does operate differently, but if you are interested in doing dry van lease operating, you will get a dispatcher, and they also pay percentage, so that's good. You can go ahead and click on that also. Also, if you are if you're interested in becoming a truck driver as a company driver, feel free to click on that link too. CRST does do training and all that. Another thing about the flatbed, if you want to become a lease operator, if you don't have your own truck and all that, click on the link. Even though and if you want to do flatbed, click on the link, because the CRST does do pretty good training and all that, and they will teach you the right way to do the flatbed. A lot of people get in trouble because they get in a flatbed without any experience, no training, no nothing. I've seen it. All right, so first let me address the securement device, what secures your load, being in front or behind the rub rail. First, let me tell you about the rub rail. Rub rail is very important, okay? As you can see, now this ain't my trailer. I mean, I'm renting it, but as you can see, many people has driven this trailer. It's an old trailer, and it's been quite damaged. Okay, lots of things rubbing up against there. I don't know if it was by a driver or forklifts or what, or somebody hitting the trailer. And that's happened to me before, where somebody backed into a spot where I was parked and hit the trailer. Okay, so I have experienced how important that rub rail is. Purpose of the rub rail is to protect your securement device, because if anything rubs up against this, now these straps have chains on them, so they are a little bit better as far as being protected against anything. But if you got what's common is strap coming all the way down like this here, something rubs up against that while you're driving, you're probably going to lose your load. Okay, so that's the purpose of the rub rail. Protect your straps. Another purpose of the rub rail is to protect the trailer itself. Okay, this here absorbs the impact of anything that hits your trailer, and that way so your trailer itself doesn't get damaged. It takes the damage. Okay. Well, the FMCSA has realized the importance of a rub rail. And back in 2002, they actually did make a rule that required straps to be behind the rub rail. However, this created a big problem. And some of you flatbed drivers who have special trailers and stuff like that, or now in the rule, I should add, in the rule they did say, how they actually word it? They said where it's possible. Okay, the straps must be behind. So they did add that in there. However, it still created a problem because it left it up to law enforcement to actually determine if it's possible or not for the driver to have the straps behind the rub rail. And this also created a lot of problems for drivers and carriers if their trailer or the load they were hauling did not allow them to put the straps behind the rub rail. It created lots of problems. And there were drivers who were getting tickets because either the trailer was not designed to hook the strap underneath, or it didn't have the special equipment to be able to hook the strap like some trailers do. I've also seen trailers where the rub rail was actually kind of part of the trailer itself, to where they only had these pockets. What these pockets are is they're for pipe stakes. And that there creates a problem because the driver needs more straps than there are those pockets. So back in 2005, the FMCSA decided to get rid of that rule. Which leads us to today, there is no rule. It's driver's discretion. Okay. I wanted to point that out because I have heard from different companies and drivers, and I believed it myself at one time, that you had by law to have the straps behind the rub rail. You don't. However, just because you're allowed to do something doesn't make it good. Which way is the safest way to do it? Knowing what this rub rail is for, the safest way to actually secure your load is to have the straps behind the rub rails. That way, so if you happen to run in this, rub up against something, a building, a sign, a tree, whatever. I mean, admit it, we're all human, we make mistakes. Or, even if you think you're the greatest driver in the world and never make a mistake, somebody else rubs up against you, like what happened to me at one time at a truck stop where a driver did hit my rub rail. And luckily, none of my straps were damaged. All that happened was the rub rail got bent. Not going to tell you what to do, but if you're able to do it, you should have the straps behind the rub rail, not in front. Here's another thing. Should you ever secure anything to the rub rail? This rub rail is made of aluminum. This trailer is steel frame, aluminum body trailer. This rub rail, and most rub rails, are not tested to be able to hold any weight. Its purpose is only to absorb impact, not to actually hold down freight. Therefore, you should never secure anything to the rub rail. Next question, straps over or under the tarp. Now this one could get you shut down and placed out of service. Because it is written that nothing is to be secured by bungee. or tarp straps. Nothing. And actually, a few years back, many provinces in Canada and states in Oklahoma decided they were going to inspect trucks, not just for the securement of the freight, but also anything on the truck. Anything on the truck and trailer. This includes them getting under the trailer and looking at what you have underneath. All your dunnage and ladder. They were placing people out of service just because they had bungees secured on and not actual straps. And here's the reason why. Bungees are not rated. They're not rated at all. Therefore, they cannot be used as a securement device. Your tarp, even when it's covering your freight, just covering your freight, you have to have the tarp secured. If you have it secured by bungee only, then you could be placed out of service. And I say could because I have had drivers tell me, and other people tell me, oh, no officer ever places anyone out of service because their tarp is only secured by bungee. There are actually lots of laws that is in the FMCSA book, and I'm going to talk about one of them in another vlog I'm going to do, where police don't commonly place you out of service or write you up for it, but it's in there, and all it takes is one officer. I have a good friend of mine who did get a ticket for a law that normally is not enforced, and lots of drivers don't know the law, but this officer knew it, and he wrote my friend up for it, okay, for improper securement of freight. And I'm going to talk about that in another thing because a lot of people don't know it. A lot of people, I didn't know it until my friend contacted me and asked me about it, and him and I had to look it up, and sure enough, it's in there. Okay, you're right. There are a lot of officers who will not write you up for just securing your tarp with a bungee, but all it takes is one officer to do it, and that's going to hurt your record. Hurt your record. Okay, so my recommendation to all drivers, definitely at least have 2 straps on your freight. What I do now, and I always try to do it this way, where all my straps are on the tarp. Okay, but there are some locations I know you have to secure down your freight, move the truck off the property, and then tarp. No, I'm not going to unstrap everything just before the tarp. But I've got them in small straps, and if I only use one tarp, I'll just throw 2 straps over, one in the front, one in the back. If I have more than one tarp, like in this case, this right here, I would have 3. I'd have one in the front, one in the middle, there's 2 tarps, and one in the back. And that's all you need. Okay? The reason I like doing it this way for another reason. This here, now I'm going down the road, that tarp ain't going nowhere. In fact, because I'm using so many straps and bungees, this doesn't even flap. There's no movement at all. This helps protect the tarp from getting tore up from the winds and everything, which coming up to Montana, I did hit some strong winds. So that's my recommendation, people, and that's also what's in the law. You can look it up yourself. I did. Okay, I looked it up to make sure that what I've heard and was true, which good thing I looked it up, because like I said, at one time I did believe that the straps had to be by law behind the rub rail, and no, it don't. But it is a good idea to do it that way. And that leads me to something else. I've heard many things, including the strap thing, from even big companies, from safety department of large companies. Something I want to remind everybody is these people are human. Okay? Yeah, they're supposed to look everything up, and they're supposed to know everything and all that, but they also misinterpret and get things wrong. Okay? It's never good to have faith in people, especially when your record is on the line. I mean, with truck driving, it's so easy to end up losing your CDL, getting a bad record, never being able to get hired onto any good companies. Then you're stuck driving for these lousy outfits. And it's also easy to end up in jail, okay, as we found out in recent years. So protect yourself, okay? Challenge everything that's told to you. All right. If you hear that people, like for instance, I'm seeing lots of people not having straps over top their tarps. All it takes is just one time, and your record gets messed up over what you heard other people say. Okay? And another one I'm going to bring up is about securement of your product. Okay, a lot of people have that wrong on how many straps are needed. Don't have faith in other people. Look this stuff up, and I'm going to do a lot more blogs on this stuff. All right, so make sure you subscribe, follow me, and I'm going to do my best to get all the information out there of things I hear on the road and things I've learned over the years. Take care. God bless.